God or demon? What am I? It's time for me to choose my path. The power of my God hand. No evildoer will get past. Okay, I'll stop. But seriously, you want to talk about underrated, underloved titles? Look no further. Really, it just goes to show you what one goofy trailer can do for a game's design. Alright, enough faffing about. Join me for a closer look at God Hand. Greetings everyone, this is the Hipster Snek, bringing today a closer look at the very last game developed by the illustrious Clover Studio, the 2006 cult classic, God Hand. Originally styled to be much more serious, an E3 2006 trailer featuring the cast of characters doing a goofy arm-waving dance number inspired the team to take a more tongue-in-cheek direction, with wisecracking hero Gene being quick with one-liners and a colorful cast of goofy weirdos as a collection of enemies he needed to punch his way through. Taking inspiration from 80s action anime and manga, God Hand is a delightful romp with one of the most robust gameplay engines I've ever seen utilized in a beat-em-up. But before we get into that too much, the story recap. A long time ago, the fallen angel Angra sent an army of demons to invade the world and subjugate humankind. However, these forces were brought to a screeching halt all by one man, a warrior so powerful he was thought to have divine power surging through his arms, and thus was dubbed the God Hand. Angra retreated and chose to bide his time and wait for his chance at revenge. We pick up some undisclosed at a time after, with the demons surging into the world anew as a young girl, named Olivia, protects one of the arms of the God Hand as the demons go hunting for whoever possesses it. Unable to look away from trouble, average guy Gene intervenes on her behalf and gets his right arm lopped off for his trouble and nearly dies. But Olivia gives Gene the mythical arm, both saving his life and giving him the strength necessary to fight the demons on their own terms. And thus he opts to take the fight to the demonic horde, so don't feel bad that you're gonna punch a lot of dudes. Because they're not people, they're demons, totally different. Graphically, God Hand is both really good and at the same time a little on the muddy side. While the textures are sharp and the characters are often bright and colorful, it has a habit of using them as foreground while the backgrounds tend to fall by the wayside. I'll be the first to admit that starting in a brown-on-brown Wild West motif for the first stage probably didn't help those early-day review scores where they were lambasted for their visual design. However, with each of the game's many levels, you won't be standing still much at all. Be it the map transition between stages with a little 16-bit Gene sprite rushing by a la Castlevania, or the various locales like mines, forests, industrial citadels, or Venice-inspired boat rides, God Hand actually has a lot of variation in its level themes. Any reviewer who complains the backgrounds don't change was simply incapable of beating the first level, and you may point and laugh at them accordingly. Overall, I rather like the art direction the game takes, and while it wasn't trying to push the PS2 to its limits, it certainly has a style all unique to itself. In terms of sound, I've sort of already tipped my hand in this respect, as I talked about it a little bit back in our top 10 game OSTs, but there's always more to discuss about music. God Hand has one of the very best game soundtracks that I'm actively aware of, a strong emphasis on guitar work and a classic rock style that oozes out of every track. The game literally will start you off on the title track, Be Ready For It, so it comes out of the gate with screaming guitars. Then there are tracks like Bronco Buster and Handsome Dynamite, getting you ready for any number of absolutely insane confrontations. Sometimes you need a track more like Big Hit, or Which Do You Prefer, for a still upbeat but less adrenaline-pumping walk to the town. The boss themes alone are worth cost of admission, my personal favorites being Battery Size D, Please Mr. Sensei, and Top of the Humans. And it's not just great music, the sound effects are spot on, with loud, deliberately overblown, nigh-cartoonish sound effects for every kick, punch, and subsequent atmospheric visit when a demon gets punted into low orbit. Just absolutely cathartic, particularly during the QTE moments where you just get to go to town on a demon after they've frustrated you, or the delightful ding that accompanies both the poke of God and the game's litany of crotch shots. The voice cast brings an A-game. Never mind that Sam Riegel voices half the game, everyone does a great job, including Bing Spies as Gene, Bettina Bush as Olivia, and Melissa Fawn as Conchita. Just excellent sound design on every single front. Alright, now for my favorite part, the gameplay. And God Hand does not leave you wanting for options. For starters, all 4 face buttons are entirely customizable, with the square button in particular being set aside as a combo chain. Gene starts with, and can subsequently purchase and find, additional attacks to change up his style at any time. And I mean at any time, as any time you can pause the game, you can change the combo with any attacks that you have on hand. But that's not all, not by a long shot. Jean also has the God Reel, essentially a Rolodex of super attacks he can summon up by spending a set of dots from the HUD, which are replenished by way of colored skull cards. Once you have more attacks and slot reels, you can even customize which ones you want to keep on the reel and which ones you don't. Some of these include attacks like Dragon Kick, a powerful single target attack, or Daisy Cutter, which deals medium damage across a group. And some, like Grovel, do precisely what the name might imply. Jean gets down and begs for mercy, greatly reducing enemy enmity, because they're too busy laughing at you. So why would you ever want to do that? Well, that's because the game actually has two difficulty settings, one that you set between easy, medium, and hard when you start a new game, and another which is more dynamic, gradually building up as you style all over your enemies, or it goes down as you perform poorly and need to continue. Oh yeah, by the way, you have unlimited continues, and you'll need them, believe me. But the gauge starts at level 1, ticks up to level 2, then level 3, up to the highest at level Die, when the game drops all pretenses of subtlety and cements its desire to pummel you via Japanese wordplay joke. Of course, if you choose to play the game on hard mode, the gauge is simply locked on level Die the entire way through. To give you some idea, if the gauge is on level 1 or 2, enemies who are not in view of the camera will not attack you, and will instead circle strafe around until Jean and the player can plainly see them. Level 3 and Die, meanwhile, they'll just rush you, ready or not. However, the higher the difficulty level, the greater the rewards dropped from each defeated enemy, so it's up to you to push your skills to their limits to get the most out of every encounter. However, it's not so one-sided, as you'll have some tricks in your arsenal that can turn the tide in a tight spot, beyond customizable attacks and God Reel. You'll also have a tension gauge that, once filled, will allow Jean to cast off the deistic brace, that metal thing that's laced around his right arm, which sends him into a state where he's both invincible and much faster and stronger until the gauge burns out. This is a handy tool in both boss busting and dealing with the shadowy true demon forms that can spawn on higher difficulties from fallen enemies. And, most vital of all the tools in your arsenal, is the right stick. Each of the 4 cardinal directions of the stick are tied to a sort of dodge, be it sidesteps, a backflip, or the most useful of all, the boxer's weave where you flick it up. It is uncanny just how many attacks can be dealt with by using the right stick and flicking it up like your life depends on it, because, spoiler alert, it does. Not only can this help Jean duck and dodge incoming assaults, even some that don't look like this should help you dodge them at all, but it also is considered a stylish form of playing and thus builds tension and difficulty gauges very quickly. Not just that, but if you stun enemies, you can be prompted to perform quick-time events to punish them, dealing big damage without fear of retaliation, as Jean is invincible while performing these as other enemies cannot interrupt. Not only does it just feel good to thrash demons who moments ago were giving you trouble, they can also be quite funny in their execution, like when Jean essentially turns a diminutive demonic target into a hacky sack. However, you aren't alone in your quest, as between levels you can visit a shop and casino at your leisure. The shop not only has additional attacks and God Reel cards, but also contains items to increase your maximum health, my personal favorites. The casino, well, use it at your own risk. I've never had much luck in these kinds of affairs, but another word of advice. Don't attack the bouncers or the machines. They will destroy you and force you back to the world map if you die there, making you lose your opportunity to get more items for that leg of the intermission. Apart from that, you go level by level, beating the snot out of demons of all shapes and sizes, and engage in absolutely insane boss encounters that will test the skills you've learned up to that point. Oh, and here's a bit of advanced technique that you might find useful. The up dodge on the right stick can also cancel Jean out of certain animations, making other unwieldy attacks much more viable. Give it a try, see what you can do with it. Godhand's unique spin on difficulty makes the game, in its own words, challenging but fair. It doesn't need to have auto death traps, things that can off you in one hit, or stamina bars. That would be beneath it. Your many inevitable deaths will more than likely come from brutally cunning gauntlet of lesser injuries that add up over time. And if you thirst for challenge, you'll accept this and, eventually, embrace it. Aiding this considerably is the game's sense of humor. Jean's wisecracking could give Dante a run for his money, and the truly bizarre and surreal enemies you'll encounter, like Great Sensei, the Three Idiot Stooges, or Super Sentai-inspired Mad Midget 5, all will keep you entertained and challenged all the way to the very end.
Yeah!
I know I've been gushing about this game like the fanboy that I rightfully am, but is there any way it could have been improved upon? Well, I can think of one thing. New Game Plus. I beaten the game on normal and was really proud of my collection of attacks and abilities and considerably enhanced health bar. But once you're at the final boss, that's the end of the road. There's no way to shoot for 100% completion, nor a way to challenge higher difficulties with an easier start to experience. Which is a real shame. For what it is, God Hand is a challenging, fascinating, hilarious, oft misunderstood game that really deserves a second look. However, to no one's surprise and many people's chagrin, the game has yet to be ported, remade, or anything outside of the confines of the PS2. And it looks like it may very well stay that way for good. So I have to ask, hey Capcom, Gene and Teppen, when? But for now, the sign-off. This has been the Snek Hand, bringing to your attention another obscure Capcom game. If you liked today's video, hit the like button so I know. You can leave a comment down below letting me know if you ever played this game or not. I'd be curious to know. You can also hear more from me on the Tomodachi Bros podcast and YouTube, where my closest friends and I review anime, movies, and sometimes play games for your enjoyment. Or you can join me here each week for more by hitting those subscribe and bell icons so you'll never miss a one. Every week is more obscure games, indie excellence, and more awaiting you right here into the new year. And I will see you there. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. And if you're still watching, I just wanted to let you guys know that I wanted to extend a big thank you to all my viewers for helping us recently break the 250 subs milestone. That is crazy to me. The fact that we did it so quickly is all thanks to you and you guys supporting me, and it means the world to me. So I want to give a little something back in return. Between now and the time we hit the 500 subs mark, both on my YouTube discussion page tab and over at my Twitter at Hipster Snek, there is now an open AMA, or Ask Me Anything, where you guys can ask as many questions as you want. When we hit the 500 subs mark, I will sit down, make the video, and answer every question that doesn't get me banned off YouTube. The posts are already there and pinned, awaiting your input. I'm curious to see what you guys are curious about. So I'll see you at the 500 subs mark with all the answers that you've been craving, and I will see you there.